What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Thursday, February 2nd. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 4-game NBA slate tonight. So let's take a look at the point guard position. So this is going to be a video of mid-range plays here. No studs, no super value plays in this video, but we got some of the best mid-range plays on the slate for you at each position. So at the point guard position, I like Russell Westbrook from the LA Clippers playing the Golden State Warriors, who have the 8th worst defense overall, give up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Russell Westbrook has averaged 37.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 30% usage rate. He's projected at 36.2 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.2 times value. Only 7,000 DraftKings salary, 900 more on FanDuel. Russell Westbrook has scored 40, 39, and 45 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 27, 25, and 39 minutes. So not a ton of minutes the past 2 games, but his production has been just fine, or his production has been great for his price point. So he is projected at over 5 times value here tonight, and that's if he scores under his season average. And Russell Westbrook scored 39, 29, and 37 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Warriors. So I like Russell Westbrook here versus the Golden State Warriors. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. So this is the position I think you can find some value here. There's a few value plays right around 5K, 5,500 that I'm interested in here. So let's start off with OG Anunoby. He's from the Toronto Raptors playing the Washington Wizards, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing shooting guards. OG Anunoby has averaged 31.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 36 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He's projected at 30.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.4 times value. He's 5,700 DraftKings salary, 900 more on FanDuel, and OG Anunoby has scored 32, 12, and 16 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 33, 34, and 38 and 38 minutes. So he doesn't have a really good track record his last 4 games. That 12 and 16, that's really sticking out like a sore thumb, scaring people away, almost scared me away. But if you look, he did score 32 fantasy points last game, played 33 minutes. Even if he scores under his season average, he'll get way over 5 times value. So I think it's a pretty good risk to reward play right here. He just needs to score his season average here, and he'll get you over 5 times value. I think he's got it in him. I hope he got those bad games out of the way. I hope he can go for 30 plus fantasy points here tonight, but we got some other options for you right around this 5K, 5,500 range at this position. So OG Anunoby, one thing I do like about him is that he has a good player versus team history here. He scored 33, 37, and 32 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Wizards. So that's why I like this pick. So I like OG Anunoby here versus the Washington Wizards. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And then we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Another small forward that I like is Gary Trent Jr. from the Toronto Raptors, playing the Washington Wizards, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing small forwards. Gary Trent Jr. has averaged 28.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. He's projected at 27.3 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5 times value. He's 5,500 DraftKings salary, 600 more on FanDuel. And Gary Trent Jr. has scored 32, 17, and 31 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 27, 26, and 36 minutes. So I don't like how his minutes have trailed off here the past couple of games. Even though he did put up 32 fantasy points last game, I would hope that we can get Gary Trent Jr. for 32 minutes or more here. His season average is 34 minutes per game, so I would just keep an eye on that. Is he going to play over 30 minutes here tonight? If he does, I think he's got a great chance at hitting value, even crushing value. Gary Trent Jr. definitely has 40-plus fantasy point upside, so I like Gary Trent Jr. here versus the Washington Wizards. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. And I was just giving you those players like they were small forwards. Sorry guys, I'm a little slow here tonight. I've got some things going on. I got to get through this video and a lot on my mind here today. So sorry if I don't do that well in this video. So, small forward position. Okay, so I like Paul George from the LA Clippers, playing the Golden State Warriors, who have the 8th worst defense overall, give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Paul George has averaged 42.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 30% usage rate. He's projected at 42.2 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5 times value. His salary finally got up to his fair price of $8,500 DraftKings salary. He's 500 more on FanDuel. I said Paul George is a good play on DraftKings at $8,500 and under. He's already up to $8,500, and he's got a good matchup here tonight, so I like this play. And Paul George has scored 43, 37, and 60 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 34, 35, and 40 minutes. And he scored 34 and 41 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Warriors. So I like Paul George here versus the Golden State Warriors. So here are OG Anunoby and Gary Trent Jr. Both these guys happen to be eligible at shooting guard and small forward position. That's why I got confused there. So who did I give you for the shooting guard? I gave you, I didn't have anyone specifically marked, I guess. I guess OG Anunoby and Gary Trent Jr. were my shooting guard or small forwards. So those 2 guys I do think are decent mid-range plays here, and I love Paul George as a stud on the slate. $8,500 stud who's got easy 50-plus upside, so I love that. Okay, so at the power forward position, one of my favorite plays here tonight on DraftKings is Draymond Green from the Golden State Warriors, playing the LA Clippers, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Draymond Green has averaged 30.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 13% usage rate. He's projected at 29.7 fantasy points here tonight. Gonna need 32 fantasy points or more to get you 5 times value or more. He's 6,300 DraftKings salary. He's 1,100 more on FanDuel. So I like that DraftKings price. Might be a little too expensive on FanDuel. So Draymond Green scored 42 fantasy points last game, played 32 minutes. And let's see how he's done here versus the Clippers. He scored 33, 39, and 26 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Clippers. But I do think he can come out here and put up another 40-plus fantasy point game. So I like Draymond Green here versus the LA Clippers.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Now, you got Tobias Harris on a back-to-back at only 5,200 DraftKings salary. He's been really disappointing throughout the season. He did score 38 fantasy points in 34 minutes last game. Every time I recommend Tobias Harris, he goes out there and puts out like 10 or 12 points. So I'm not going to recommend him here tonight. So that means he's going to go off for 40 plus. Watch this. So let's see who else we have here. There's a lot of the value plays were hard for me here today. There's the slate is priced pretty well. I'm just trying to find a really good value play, and it's a little bit difficult here. So you got a guy like Jordan Nwora from the Indiana Pacers. He's 3,400 DraftKings salary. He's got a great matchup. He scored 23, 39, and 12 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 28, 21, and 18 minutes. So I would look into Jordan Nwora a little bit. At 3,400, he doesn't need much to hit value, and he put in a couple of good games back to back, so we'll see if that can continue. But this video really isn't focused on studs or value plays. We're looking at the mid-range plays here, and at the center position, I've got another mid-range play for you that I like quite a bit. Take a look at Miles Turner from the Indiana Pacers playing the San Antonio Spurs, who have the absolute worst defense overall, give up the second most fantasy points to opposing centers. Miles Turner has averaged 36.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. He's projected at 35.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.8 times value. He's 7,400 DraftKings salary, 1,200 more on FanDuel, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 238.5 points scored in this game. Miles Turner has scored 44, 41, and 61 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 32, 28, and 36 minutes. Miles Turner been on fire the last 3 games. He scored 38 and 35 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Spurs. It's a fantastic matchup and a high-scoring game. So everything is lining up for Miles Turner here tonight. So I like Miles Turner here versus the San Antonio Spurs.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com.
You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.